you go. Good evening. Welcome to the special meeting of the New Canaan Board of Education. This is rescheduled from August 19th, 2024 to today, Monday, August 26th. First, I'd like everyone to stand, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you very much. Next up, we'll review and approve the agenda for August 26th. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda, please? Erica, second Brendan, all in favor? Unanimous. Next, we're going to approve the minutes from July 22nd. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes, please? Brendan, second. Julie, all in favor? And then one abstention. Thank you. Next, comments from the public. To ensure the public's right to be heard, the board set aside time during the meeting for public comments. 2 minutes would be allotted to each speaker with a maximum of 15 on each subject. Is there anybody that would like to approach the board? Thank you. Seeing that there are none, we'll move on to reports and recognition. And the first up is South School Assistant Principal introduction. Dr. Lutzy.
Yes, good evening. It's wonderful to be together here and see everybody. We have the great pleasure of introducing two new folks tonight. First, or at least one new and one in a new position. Our first is Siobhan McCormick. Siobhan is joining us from Oxbridge School in Darien, where she served last year as the interim assistant principal. Before that role, Siobhan served as the literacy coach at various school districts, including Fairfield and Westport, and as a classroom teacher, having taught grades 4 and 5 at Riverside High School in Fairfield. She has, Phil, you'll like to hear this, she has her Bachelor of Arts degree from Boston College. She liked it so much she stayed, and also has her Master's of Education from Boston College. You guys have a lot to talk about. Master's of Education in consulting teacher as a consulting teacher of reading from Lesley University, and also our certificate in administration supervision from Sacred Heart. Many of you likely saw Siobhan's letter introducing herself to the community. She is joining us over at South as Zoe is moving, or has moved over to East as our new principal. She's here tonight with Matt, and it is my pleasure to welcome her to the New Canaan Public Schools. Welcome, Siobhan.
Good evening. Thank you for the warm introduction. It's a pleasure to be here and a privilege to be a new member of the New Canaan Public Schools. As I've spent some time at South this summer getting familiar with the building, beginning to remember some of the many names of staff, I've started to learn some things about New Canaan. I've discovered what a moon tree is. Very cool. I've added the word possum to my South vocabulary. I've learned a good spot to order lunch from on Fridays when I've run out of staples at home, club sandwich, and even the exact time to be off of Farm Road in the morning before the traffic bottleneck sets in. And as I've had opportunities to meet new colleagues and talk with people, I've learned a couple of other things about New Canaan schools and what they value, principles that are dear to me and make me feel especially pleased to be a part of this school district: excellence and climate. Excellence. Of course, it is clear that New Canaan is known for its rigorous curriculum, talented educators, and high-performing students. But it was inspiring to listen to and learn from administrators K-12 during the recent retreat a couple of weeks ago, discussing AI, emotional intelligence, and working effectively and impactfully as a system. I was struck by how engaged, smart, and thoughtful everyone is. Expectations were high, my thinking was pushed, and it was a great experience to learn from such a talented team. Climate. In addition to the high level of excellence among staff, it is clear that New Canaan has a strong climate. The staff respect each other, enjoy being together, and quite simply like each other. In addition to being challenged, there was lots of laughter, trust, and joy was evident in the retreat, as well as I've had some time to get to know people across the district. I could not have asked for a better mentor and partner in Matt Kaskak, The fact that he is here tonight after such a very long day speaks volumes about what kind of leader he is. And I am so excited to help support him and the entire South staff in continuing their strong commitment to students and families. Thank you again for the welcome. I look forward to meeting many of you over the year, and I'm thrilled to become a part of Team New Canaan.
Welcome, Siobhan. Our second introduction is of someone who may not need too much of an introduction, as she's been a member of our school community for a couple of years now, but to talk just very briefly about our work and how we are working to transform what was the largest middle school in Connecticut and one of the few remaining middle schools in Connecticut that were 5 through 8 into 2 different schools within one building. Over there with an intermediate school with 5-6 and a middle school with grades 7 and 8. And in doing so, we're looking forward to the outcomes, or at least some of our goals in doing this, is to create these 2 right-sized schools. They're still larger schools. There's still about 650 students per. But to really, by focusing in on the 2 grades, to provide supportive, responsive, and caring school environments for all of the students by eliminating the myriad challenges that are created when you have a 75-minute differential between the divisions. It was always difficult. It was about 25 minutes in the past. The shift in school start times really exacerbated some of those challenges, and we found ourselves in a place where the faculty was never in the same room at the same time. They were today on the day for our opening day, but beyond that, during the school year, it's near impossible to have cohesion as a school when you have a faculty that's not talking to each other and they're not together. There are different needs around the students, and the developmental needs of kids in 5th and 6th grade are very different than students in grades 7 and 8. This is not a unique model. There are certainly other districts that have an intermediate 5-6 and a middle 7-8. What we're looking at is a little different by doing it in one building, but we know that a building isn't a school. People are the school, and the systems that we put together is a school. And so we're running these 2 programs under this one in this one facility, knowing that both administrative teams will continue to work incredibly well together. We anticipate that we'll be able to focus more specifically on the developmental needs of the students at each of those grade levels, that the communications will be more targeted and streamlined and specific to those families and the staff at each of the schools. And we're looking at ways that we can continue to strengthen the developmentally appropriate support for students as they move from the K-4 model we have into the 5-6 and then into the 7-8. We've done that through the years by having the mini teams in 5th, by doing some things slightly differently in 6th than in 7th and 8th. But it was always a challenge to do that and to create that identity for our littlest kids in the school. And we really feel confident that the move to the intermediate school will provide those students in 5th and 6th the level of support and voice and environment that they need to thrive, and then have them going into 7th and 8th grade afterwards. Essentially, by making the move, we're really looking to create a system that empowers our truly expert administrators to excel as leaders of those schools with those kids, with that faculty and the staff that's there. And so as we were going through and having the discussion around all of this, really we were talking about who would be the right person to move into this role for us as the principal of our intermediate school. And without a doubt or a question, Sarah Granite was the clear choice to become our intermediate school principal. Before coming to New Canaan, Sarah served as an assistant principal at North Mianus in Greenwich. It's an elementary school there. And before that, she worked in Stamford and in Darien for 9 years, where she was working with grades 2 and 4, and for the majority of that time was the grade 2 team leader, with a specialty in special education and intervention needs for students. Sarah's education is right here in Connecticut. She's a Quinnipiac graduate through and through. She has her BA in history, where she graduated summa cum laude. She has her MAT, or Master of Arts in Teaching, where she also graduated in summa cum laude, and then has her education leadership degree from Quinnipiac as well, where she was the recipient of Excellence in Scholarship and Excellence in Leadership during her time there at Quinnipiac. I can tell you that the work is challenging as we go through, and Sarah makes this transition. She has an excellent partner with her in Steve Bedard, who has been our assistant principal over at Saks for a number of years. And another goal in making this move is to really balance out the administrative support amongst the 4 grades. As we're looking at all of this, to have a principal and an assistant principal in the intermediate school, which was the lower division, have a principal and assistant principal in the upper school, the middle school, which was the upper division, is the right approach. And then our dean of students, of course, will span all 4 grades. Judging by this morning's response at convocation, when Sarah was announced, and the 5th and 6th grade teachers brought the house down, I think that there's a lot of good, important, hard work ahead. It's the right work to be doing. Because when we can take a school as large as Saks and make it smaller to be more nimble and responsive to the needs of the kids and the families and the staff, then we're doing the right work. And Sarah's the right person to lead us and lead that school in that work. And I want to introduce the board to Sarah Gray. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Good evening, members of the board, colleagues, community members. I am truly honored to be named the new principal of Saks Intermediate School. I want to thank the Board of Education, Dr. Lutzy, my partner in crime, Mr. Bedard, for this opportunity. It's a privilege to lead in a community that I deeply love and respect. Our theme this year is moving forward together, capturing the essence of my vision. I'm committed to fostering an environment where every student feels supported and inspired to reach their full potential. Working alongside our dedicated staff, students, and families who had a lot of fun this morning working together for the first time in a while, I'm excited to continue building on the strong foundation that we already have in place. Thank you for your trust, and I look forward to what we're going to accomplish together this year.
Thank you, Sarah. And that's the part where we get to tell them and their kids that they're not expected to stay for the whole meeting.
Right. You feel free to leave. Thank you so much. It's great to see everybody, and congrats again.
We haven't been able to say this in a while, but we have to be back bright and early in the morning.
Thank you. All right. Next up for reports and recognition, phone-free schools update. Dr. Lutzy.
Yes, I thought it'd be a good time just very quickly to give the board an update on where we are with our phone-free schools initiative across the board. As you know, there was some communication that went out in August, and we've been doing quite a bit of work since. So I just wanted to take a moment to give an update and have an opportunity if there's any questions or thoughts or feedback that the board would like to share. First of all, there's an awful lot of conversation happening, not just here in New Canaan, but in Connecticut and nationally about phone-free schools and about, how do we manage the phones in our schools. The work that we're doing, I believe, is the right work in the right ways. We've had policies in our schools for years, and it's part of our responsible use policies and other things we have with students in our behavior matrix over at Saks and our syllabus review over here at the high school. But what we're really in part looking to do is go school-wide and district-wide with our policies so that there's a clarity of expectation across the board for all of our kids and all of our families. Without question, having phones in classrooms can provide distraction for kids, make learning more difficult, make teaching more difficult, and cause some other problems. Our thinking as a district has been evolving for many years. Many remember back in 2019 we had a speaker in Alex Salkever come and speak to the community and to the school. He was speaking about a book he had published just before that called Your Happiness Was Hacked. How big tech is hacking into your brain and what you can do about it, something along those lines. He spoke in November of 2019. We were doing a lot of research around this. And then, of course, everything changed in March of 2020. And instead of sort of having this conversation, we really had to have the opposite. And how do we lean into technology in order to navigate the challenges that we were having? So we've got that in the rearview mirror, and now we've been building momentum again around doing this work in our classrooms with our teachers, with our kids, and otherwise. And so we had Max Stossel come, thanks to NC Cares in the spring, who spoke similarly to what Alex was telling us back in 2019. Max was sharing with us how we think that it's responsible or irresponsible when we or kids use phones at different times of the day or in times of their lives. But it's actually not a question of being responsible or irresponsible. It's deeper than that, because the phones are designed in such a way to create an addictive cycle where it's not about willpower, it's about access. And it's unfair to children especially, and frankly, many adults, to call their use irresponsible when the design of the device, the software, and the way that it sort of hacks into your brain is purposefully causing that attention and causing students to look at it and what have you. So I used to think we could teach our way out of this. I think we still have to keep teaching and teaching and teaching, as we are, and doing a great job of that. But we also need to be intentional about access. And that's where the phone-free school sort of approach and movement comes in. So in our elementary schools, we're going to remain the same. We have been phone-free in the elementary schools. We're going to stay that way. When we say phones, we mean watches as well. And that's always a good reminder, because after the holidays, we typically have a few kids that come in with their smartwatches, and we have those conversations. Really, the technology now is so advanced that the smartwatches are nothing but cell phones in a smaller version that you wear around. You don't even, in the beginning, you had to have them Bluetooth to a phone. Now they just have their own cell signal, right? So they literally are just miniaturized supercomputers. So those are not allowed. They have not been, and they're not going to be. At the middle school, our policy had been that students can bring their phones, and they would keep them in their lockers or keep them in their book bags. And it said that in a policy that they could have their smartwatches as long as they had them on Do Not Disturb. So what we're shifting, and this is the biggest shift that's underway, the administrative teams across the building are working together to put a system in place for all the kids, and the split schedule will help us with this. It's going to be using a locking pouch that we've seen discussed and demoed before. That students will put their phone, their watch, smart devices into the pouch. They'll do it themselves. They'll lock it. They'll keep the pouch with them. They can put it in their locker, put it in their backpack, whatever. And those pouches get opened at the end of the day on their way out. So as they come in, they lock it, and they put it in their backpack or put it in their locker. And then at the end of the day, on their way out the door, we'll have stations that are on wheels that will wheel out, and they can unlock them that way. And the SACS team is working on all the details around that. The Dean of Students, as I mentioned, is going across 5 through 8, and she's helping to coordinate all of that across all 4 grades. So it'll be a big help there. The shift is that our policies before set an expectation that students wouldn't have their cell phones with them during the day. But we didn't know were they in their lockers, were they in their backpack, were in their pockets when they were going to the bathrooms, were they accessing them in different places where people couldn't see, and all of those things. And there will certainly be challenges around implementation here. We know that. But every district that does this knows that. So we can learn from the over 3,000 schools that have implemented a similar program, and we believe doing it at the middle school is the right place, because there really is a zero tolerance around the middle school and having these devices and having it. So it's the right way to get a system in place, refine and modify that system, see how it goes, and learn from that implementation. One of the advantages of the pouches, instead of, say, a wall of phone lockers, which is what some of the districts are doing, none that I know of in Connecticut, but some districts around the country have phone lockers that students come in, put their phone and watch, whatever, lock it in the locker, and then at the end of the day, unlock the lockers are going out. Students have the pouch with them. So if there was a reason that they absolutely had to have access to the phone, the pouches can be cut open with a pair of scissors. So you still have that access if need be. It also doesn't block the signal. So if it's a Find My iPhone or something else, you can still do that, through the pouch. We also, this morning, spoke a bit about all of us reflecting on our technology use, in our own lives as adults, even. And what are we modeling for kids, and how are we making sure that we are in charge of our relationship with the technology instead of the technology being in charge of us and our relationship there. So we do believe that doing this work at the middle school will have positive ripple effects in kids' lives outside of school as well. We intend to partner with the New Canaan Unplugged group that I know some board members are a part of. We've been working with New Canaan Cares to put together an event in November, I believe, for the community that'll talk about technology and ways to manage that relationship. Nobody's saying that they shouldn't have a relationship with it, but we need to make sure that the individual is the one making the decisions about when and why and how to access, instead of getting caught in that dopamine addiction cycle with the phone and the usage, which happens too often to too many people. So we anticipate that not just in school, but outside of school, those relationships will change with students as they learn that they have the agency to put these things away for an extended period of time, and then to access them for a purpose afterwards. There was a great quote in an article that I read about a school that had implemented a similar system. And it was from a student, an 8th grade student, who was talking about her school who had gone to these locking pouches. And her comment was, in the beginning, we didn't like it because we were afraid we were going to miss out on everything, because we didn't have access to our phones, we weren't getting notified, and we were afraid we were going to miss out on everything going on. But after a little while, we realized that anything that we care about is happening in the school. And that, to me, speaks volumes about the purpose of this, because we are in an information-saturated world, and we have kids that are getting information and updates about things that really are not relevant to their life, to where they are, to what they're doing. It's interesting, but a 5th grade student doesn't need to be notified about a discussion about tariffs happening on the other side of the world when they're about to go into their math class, or when they could instead be talking to kids at a lunch table. Or, we're in this place that the information is so readily available that things that really are not relevant they present themselves as important. And to help students to sort through that and develop the skills to discern, what do I need to know? What don't I need to know? What's important for me? What's going to help me in what my goals are, what I'm doing, and what might actually detract from all of that? I think that this kind of an approach, certainly for our kids in the middle school, will help us with that. And in the high school, we're going to require students to place their phones, watches, and earbuds into designated holders within each classroom. So when they walk into a classroom, it'll be, maybe it's a shoe organizer on the back of the door, or however we've been doing that for a little while, but we haven't looked at the watches in the past, and we haven't looked at the earbuds in the past. So we're going to have all of that go there. And then if students use the restroom or get called to the nurse or anything else, they should stay there for that period. And we have the block periods at the high school, so it's about 84 minutes. So similarly, we think that will help to, again, break that cycle of always on, always available, always distractible. But we are allowing students, of course, to have them in between classes, to have them in the cafeteria and have them in hallways. The high school is a bit different. We have an open campus. There are some thoughts back and forth around what's the best approach for high school. So that's where I think doing the locking pouches at the middle school, and then really continuing to learn and talk and run some focus groups with kids and really get them involved in helping us to generate the right solution at the high school is the right approach. And so we are looking to do that as we get into the new year. The order itself, the company that we're buying these from, Yonder, it's exploded. I mean, there are schools all over the country that are buying these up. So it's been a little bit delayed, but we anticipate that the pouches will arrive sometime early September. And then we need about a 2-week sort of gear up in order to roll it out. So we're thinking mid-September we'll be ready to go. And we're looking at some of the implementation as a design thinking challenge. So how do you create a system that best enables students to lock and unlock their pouches as they're coming and going during the day? And how do we make that better and better? We'll have focus groups of 5th and 6th grade students, focus groups of 7th and 8th grade students, and we want them to be as much a part of this as possible, because this is something we're doing together, and as adults we anticipate that our responsibility is to model what we're asking our students to do. So of course teachers aren't on their phones while they're teaching and everything else, but to make it explicit so that they make sure kids know I'm putting this away, I'm not using this, whatever, really kind of just has that positive outcome of signaling that we're all doing this together and we all recognize the importance of this work. So we're excited about it. I think that it will make a big difference for our kids. And as I said, we know that the technical work is sort of where the phone's going to go. Are they going to go in a pouch or in a holder or just never? That's technical. The adaptive work is about sort of changing hearts and minds And that's the teaching, and that's what we need to continue to do. So this is not exclusive of our digital citizenship work and the community work and everything else that we're doing. It's just the next iteration of these efforts and what we're working on. So that's where we are.
Great, thank you so much. Open up for questions and comments. Brendan.
Yeah, just a comment that I think it's a good kind of evolution. I think a bit of it like an evolution just because we've done a bunch of things over the years, but I think this is a good next step for the middle school, and hopefully things will tighten up a little bit at the high school too. We'll see. Thanks.
Thanks.
Hey, Laura.
So I just want to clarify with what you said and just make sure I think I heard. So the teachers, all the staff at Sachs Middle School are also going to participate in putting their devices inside a pouch during school hours?
So for adults, we have Velcro pouches.
Okay.
Yeah, because we can't have adults locking their phones away.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we'll be working with the staff about that and talking with them about it, and really encouraging them to use the Velcro pouch as a way to model to the students what they're doing.
Great.
If some might say, look, mine's just in my bag, I don't take it out all day. You know, it's not, it'll be a little different, but yes, we do have adult-specific bags. And there will be some students that need access during the day, of course, if they have continuous glucose monitor, things like that. So we, of course, will make some exceptions where we need to for students that need it. And there's different ways to do that because, again, over 3,000 schools have done this, so we can learn.
And then for a safety emergency stance, are we looking at, I mean, I know the pouches can be cut, or I think some that we saw, they have smaller magnet releases. Are we looking at issuing those to each classroom, or like a special zip cutter or something if there was an emergency and we needed our staff to have the kids access their phones? Are we looking at anything?
So we can talk through things a little bit. We wouldn't have the one per classroom only because that'd be too many and one would go missing and all of those things that happen as we go. But we do, by having them, instead of hard mounting the magnets on the wall, they're going to be on carts that we can roll in and out. So there's some access and mobility there that would be helpful. And that's a conversation we can continue to have.
Okay. And I guess I would just say I would love to, continue this conversation. I think this is really exciting for the middle school, and I would love to see how we can encourage this in the high school while allowing our students their development and their autonomy and keeping our open campus. But I just think the board should continue to look at this for the high school on how we can develop, to your point, helping children manage this relationship with all of the new statistics and information that we have to create the best high school environment that we can.
Sure thing. And so what I would anticipate that once we have the pouches here and the plans are finalized with Sachs and all, we'll have the whole team come and talk a little bit about what they're doing and continue to report out as we go. And we're not kidding ourselves. The first couple of weeks are going to be a challenge. We know that. But everything we've seen and read tells us that it's well worth the effort where we're going. So yeah, we'll learn quite a bit from them. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. Anybody else? All right, thank you. Moving on to Human Resources update with Darlene.
Good evening. As you're all aware, we've had a robust but successful hiring season starting back in the spring of last year. Thanks to all of you who participated on a lot of our committees and gave feedback toward those hires. But we've continued that throughout the summer. And I'm happy to report that in addition to the 2 announcements that you heard tonight and the previous ones, and remembering, we've hired back the Director of Visual and Performing Arts back at the end of the school year, a facilities manager and his replacement in terms of the maintenance piece, a Director of Nursing, and Director of Transportation. And all of those positions are filled with people that we're very excited to have with us. And it was a lot, and I think we found really good candidates. So we're excited about that. We welcomed 35 new certified staff members at our new teacher induction, which took place last week, as you read in the Friday notes, over a period of 4 days. Exceptionally successful, and everyone was very happy and learned a lot. I think we've also hired, in addition to those teachers included in that, was a district-wide board-certified behavior analyst, and we've also hired a nurse for the special needs population at South. And those were very deep needs that we've met, again, with people that we're very excited about. We are currently in the throes of looking at a couple of positions in the special ed and related services area, which is always a challenge, but I think it's safe to say that we're solidly closing in on a couple of good candidates as recently as this morning. And I'm confident that we will get there, and if we don't, then we have a plan B for the majority of those positions. We've also had a very recent resignation on the elementary school level that, I don't know, 3 to 4 administrators are all working on resolving, and we're confident that we'll get that closed up as well. So, and last year at this time, we had hired 45 new certified staff members. So we're about 10 down from last year, which is also a good thing. In addition to that, we've hired 17 teaching assistants as of today. We're still looking for a few more. I must say that I think that the crew of people that we've had interviewing are of very good quality, and definitely that situation has gotten better over the last couple of years. So that's been good. We're also looking for some campus monitors, a cook, a couple of custodians, and a position or two in the cafeteria area realm. But all of the people that are involved in leading those groups are very solidly pursuing what I think are good options. So I am very happy to say that we're starting the year in a very good situation. From what I've heard, as I said last year, in terms of some of the other areas around us, people are still looking for certified staff, and I think we're in a good place. So again, thanks to all the administrators and the teacher leaders who really work very hard at this, know what to look for, and you know, they've sent really good candidates. So I'm excited.
That's great. Thank you very much. Any questions, comments? No, thanks. It's great to hear. I know it's been a difficult few years, just in the job market in general, particularly in this space, and it's not easy. And I know that our bar is pretty high. So appreciate everything that everybody does. So thank you.
I mention that to every single person I interview.
Yeah.
The bar is high, but it's the best place ever.
Yeah.
So everyone knows.
Thank you. All right, back to Dr. Lutzy with a security update.
Sure. And just to make sure they know, on Friday I was able to bring the new teachers into the dome and give them a little demo of what we can do in there. And they all came away saying, this place is the best place I've ever seen. So pretty cool stuff. And special thanks to Jill and to Darlene for organizing. We had our new teacher orientation. We added a 4th day this year because really in our feedback from the new teachers last year, they really found it was challenging, right? Because once you step on that treadmill in the new year, you know, you can't slow down. You have to keep going. And so our new folks felt like they would benefit from a little bit more time to work with our curriculum specialists and to really sort of get their hands into the work and to do some planning and talk to some experts. So Jill worked really to make sure that all of that time was valuable for them. And they all came away just with rave reviews of it. So thank you and congratulations. School security. Again, it's a very brief update, but just wanted to touch base. I know this is, of course, a high priority for the board and for our district, always has been. This morning at convocation, we met our new SROs, Nicole and Ron. Ron has been an SRO before. He was the SRO at the high school here 14 years ago, my first year as principal. So I've known Ron since then. He's also a graduate of New Canaan. And Nicole has been a big help for us through the years. You know we have our grad walk at the end of the year where we drive around, and Bill Egan and I are in the Gator, and the police are leading us. The kids are on the buses, and we're all wearing our regalia. Well, Nicole has been instrumental in helping us to navigate the roads and make it around town, and she's been very connected with the schools as well. So we think they're two great choices. They were here this morning, of course, along with Jeff and Matt and Shane, and Mike, who's going to be supervised. Now that they have 5 SROs, they also have, it's like a division, essentially, of the department. So they have Mike as their supervisor, and is going to do a great job with that. He's been very, very involved with the schools as well, as youth officer and otherwise, so he'll be a big help. They were all there. They were all standing together at the door, made it look like no one was allowed to leave, and we had some fun with that. But thrilled that they are coming on board. We'll be in a period of transition for a little bit. They'll be all fully on board soon. And in the meantime, you'll be seeing them at different events and open houses and start of school and everything else. So, feel free. We're going to have, Shane's going to be over at West. Ron will be over at East. And Nicole will be right across the street over at South. So, and of course, Jeff Deek will stay here at the high school, and Matt will stay over at the middle school. So it's really a great team. They will work very well with our campus monitors. They'll work great with our staff, with our principals, and we really feel very, very lucky to have these positions. So looking forward to that. We've also done some other work in our buildings. We have updated our radios, of course, which we do annually. We had some additional funding, thanks to the town, to do that recently. Ian, our technology manager, and his team have been working across the district, and they've updated our door access systems to put some added security features there, primarily alerts that will tell us if a door is left ajar and things like that. So very granular programming so that we can know specifically which door, where, how long, and we can set each one, because a front door you might need to keep open for a period of time, but a side door you don't. So, it'll be able to, each one will be on its own timer. I think that's a very, very, great move and a great system, and Ian and his team has tested all of that. If you drove across the front of the high school today, you probably saw that little speed hump. We needed some better signage. I didn't see it the first time, but we will. And really what we did was purposely put it at the crosswalk from the student parking lot across the street, so that when students are in that crosswalk and coming across, they're elevated. They're up, if it's a foot, however high it is. Our cars are so big now, right? And so you have some 9th graders, 10th graders, 11th, 12th, different heights, different whatever. And so this makes it more likely, much easier to see them safer as they're coming across from the student parking lot. So we lined it up there intentionally. We're going to put a few more out there because it's still too long of a straightaway in the high school. So we're looking at a few more spots, and we're looking at the middle school as well. But we wanted to make sure we got that one in before the start of the school year, given that it's kind of serving dual purposes by being that elevation across the crosswalk for them. We're also eagerly awaiting the bollards that have been ordered, and those will be put in place soon across different buildings in different spots. And, same with some guardrails and things like that. So this work is continuing. What I'm thinking is once we get into the school year, we'll invite some representatives from the Crisis Advisory Board, and we could get into more specifics if you'd like. We do that, of course, in executive session, given the sensitivity of the subject and what we're talking about. But I do want to share we are continually evolving and improving in our security approach. And, it's another mark of pride for our district. And it's really thanks to the great partnerships that we have with police, with fire, with EMS, with ambulance, with the First Selectman's office, through Russ, everything else that we do. This is a big focus for us. So.
Thank you very much. And I want to echo that this is something that the board had been talking about for the last couple of years. And it felt like in the beginning it was going to be a pretty heavy lift, but we all came together, got on the same page, and with you guys and the town, the police force all working really hard and collaborating, it's good to see, and I know the community's going to be happy because this was in response to what people were saying they wanted, to feel really good and be able to sleep better at night, knowing that we have some amazing people protecting our kids. So anyway, thank you very much. This is huge.
Thank you.
All right. So that's it for reports and recognition. We're moving on to action items. 2024, 2025, district goals and objectives for a second reading. Tonight we're going to move to approve. But first, I want to see if there's any comments or questions. Wexler.
So after reading these, I think these are great. I think a lot of the revisions and edits, I know I wasn't there in July, but a lot of the edits and revisions are I think, spot on. So I'm very excited about these. One of the things I've been thinking about is how do we possibly enhance the goals by adding some quantitative benchmarks, KPIs, even just numbers that we can achieve? It would help to not only ensure that we are continually improving and what have you, but also in terms of how the board and the administration allocate resources. Certain goals might need more than we're giving it, we can shift. So not necessarily going to make a motion right now, but I was wondering if we could work together to come up with a plan as to how we might start laying out some numbers against these, maybe over the next 6 to 8 weeks or so. You know, I know the start of school, there's a lot going on, so I don't want to add more to the plate, but I think that would help really just guide us and ensure that we're continuing to strive for higher and higher for the district.
So as you know, one of the things we do with the goals after approved and we start working on them is we use them to put together a calendar of presentations to the board in order to provide updates or summaries or information. And so would be very happy to have some conversation about what is included in those presentations.
Sure.
And if there's some more, if there's specific data, or as you said, you know, sort of key performance indicators,
Yeah, that's-
whatever it might be,
Yeah.
that would be helpful for the board in order to understand sort of progress towards the goals that we have. We're happy to
Yeah, I
sort
think.
of weave those in and figure that piece out.
Exactly, like aligning on what the KPIs, again, where appropriate, not all of these require a number,
Sure.
right? But where appropriate, making sure that we are, you know, even if it's a percent, right? Like, we're gonna get 1% better here, 1% better there, $1 in savings there, whatever the case may be, just so that we are able to hold all of us kind of accountable to how the district's progressing, right? How we're improving. So, again, nothing official, but would love to work with you and whoever else on the board and the administration to start putting some of those in place.
Sure, we can take a look and see what kind of models might exist
Yeah.
that we can learn from.
Absolutely.
And get some feedback.
That'd be great.
Thanks, Matt. Julie?
Dr. Letzi, we were going to add, and just if you could point it out where it is, kind of taking a deep dive on technology use in the classroom. Do you see it? I think so. 5 what? 1.5B.
Yeah, so 5B says to monitor the implementation of the digital citizenship curriculum K-12 and continually revise in response to the rapidly changing technological environment.
So I think what I recall, correct me if I'm wrong for sure, what I recall is we were looking at sort of screen time as well and its implications there and where students are using it. So we certainly can roll that into 1.5B if that works for you and include that as part of the sort of the report out and the monitoring of. We can make that work there for sure.
Okay, yeah, that would be great. Just some feedback I got from parents last year was their kids would talk about how they were reading a book, and this is elementary school, reading a book in the classroom, but it was being read on the smart board, not, from a book.
And that may be part of the unit of instruction, right? It may be that a teacher's reading it with kids and they're working through and doing some word study or other things. So we would just have to get more specific, but we're happy to do that, sure.
Awesome, thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it's just to echo Julie, in response, I think that's what kind of we brought it up last time, just in response to some of the communities, I wouldn't say concern, but just like interest and understanding just like how much technology are we using. And that's, I think, I agree, Brendan, I think that tends to cover most of it. I think if we can maybe just add a line item for specifically like digital devices, maybe that would help. Julie?
Yeah, like in maybe library, I don't know, just how much we're using certain devices and where.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Other comments and questions? We've had some time. Everyone good? All right, I'm ready to move to approve the 2024-2025 district goals and objectives for the second reading. All in favor? And one abstention. The rest is unanimous. Great. The motion passes. Thank you. All right, next up for a vote for the second reading is the 2025 Board of Education meeting calendar. Comments or questions on that?
Simply, I think I mentioned this before, this doesn't have to be cast in stone. This is just so we can plan as a board. The town and the charter requires us to turn in by end of January of '25 what those meeting dates are going to be. So if something were to come up and change between now and then, we can always revisit it. But I think that as we're getting into the school year, it's always good to have the dates for the entire school year for board meetings and otherwise. I know people appreciate having advance notice, and we all do. So this is, if something were to change in 2 months and we had to make an adjustment for November of 2025, we're certainly able to do that. But it also just doesn't make sense to stop in June if you're doing it, so we just go all the way through.
No, agreed. Questions? Everyone good? All right. All in favor of passing the 2025 BOE meeting calendar? All right, one abstention. The rest is unanimous. Thank you. Motion passes. All right, moving on to comments from the public. Anybody who'd like to approach the board? Not tonight? All right. Maybe next time. And announcements and future business.
Sure. Excuse me. Our next meeting is on Tuesday next week, September 3rd. It is the Tuesday after Labor Day. We'll have all of our principals here where they can give us a report out on the first day of school. It's always an eagerly awaited report as they'll talk about their experiences and what's happening in their buildings. This morning, we had our convocation, and thank you to all the board members who were able to come. It was great to get everybody back together. We then this afternoon had the ribbon cutting for the Hawks Court. If you'd like to learn about that, there's already a fabulous article in the New Canaanite that appeared about an hour later. Thank you, Michael. Yeah, there's a lot of excitement, right? We are ready. On Thursday, our kids come back. We've got 2 more days of professional learning with our staff. They are doing really great work in their buildings and preparing for the new year. We have meet and greets and all of those other things that really signal that rhythm of the school year. And hopefully our students and kids are just as excited as our adults as we get going. But it's good to see the buildings come back to life. It happens like that. So glad to be here and looking forward to a great year.
No, thank you, Dr. Luxton. Thanks to everyone it was a great convocation this morning, and it's a great way to kick off the year. So thank you. I'm excited. All right, motion to adjourn. Brendan, second. Wexler, all in favor. All right, thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you.